Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink, cause I think I'm going all in.
Did you know that several players have risen from benchwarmers to stardom? But how did they make it? As an athlete, being told that you won't begin your career in a starting role has to be difficult, which would give you ample opportunities to prove yourself. While some consider it a loss, others consider it a challenging opportunity. They toil even harder to surpass an incumbent starter and prove that they're every bit as skilled, if not more. So here's to you, 10 former bench players who have evolved to stardom. 1. Goran Dragic. One of the last preferences in the 2008 NBA Draft, present Phoenix Suns guard Goran Dragic has converted his game since returning to the Valley of the Sun for a second stint. While performing as a decent role player in his first few years, Dragic never settled into a position, toiling to find minutes and looking for an enduring home. Since returning to the Suns before the 2012-13 season, Dragic has initiated all but one game he has materialized in. A far cry from the 36 he had in his first 4 years mixed. A borderline all-star, his numbers are not what they were last season, but he still has his squad on the verge of the playoffs again. Number 2, James Harden. One of the most ingenious scorers in the NBA right now, Houston Rockets All-Star James Harden has come a long way since he started his pro career. In the 2009 NBA Draft made by the Oklahoma City Thunder, sure, Harden was the third overall selection, but that didn't indicate he would immediately join the starting lineup alongside other young stars, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. In attribute, before joining Houston following a trade in 2012, Harden had only started 7 career games. After winning 6th Man of the Year for the 2011-12 season, Harden took the most of his chance once he did get starters minutes. He has put himself in the MVP discussion since, averaging 26 points per game for the Rockets in his 2+ seasons. 3. Cody Zeller. He was the guy Michael Jordan desired, but Charlotte fans were not stoked about the 7-foot Hoosier Cody Zeller 4th-round all-around selection at the 2013 draft. In his 2 prosperous years at Indiana, Zeller earned a reputation for excellent speed and agility for a 7-footer. He played every game off the bench in his fledgling year and aided the Bobcats to clinch a playoff spot before being swept by the Heat. Soon evolving into a standard starter, Zeller assisted the Hornets back to the playoffs in 2016, where they took the Heat to 7 games. Zeller has since evolved into a favored player for the Charlotte Hornets. Still only 23, he has revealed an astute reading of the game and a readiness to perform and improve his play. With his current mindset, many anticipate Zeller becoming one of the privileged big dudes in the league over the next 10 years. 4. Gary Payton. Payton was the second prevailing choice in the 1990 NBA Draft by the Seattle Supersonics. In his 3rd career game, Payton documented the foremost double-double of his career after registering 10 assists and 13 points in a road win over the Nuggets. Payton registered his foremost career triple-double after documenting 10 rebounds, 18 points, and 11 assists in a losing struggle with the Suns on February 23, 1991. In the subsequent game, Payton scored only 2 points but blabbed out 16 assists, a career high for him. He hooked Slick Watts and Nate McMillan as the only Supersonics players to have talked out 16 or more assists in his fledgling season. Throughout his rookie crusade, Payton registered 8-point assist double-doubles, the most by any Supersonics player in the past. He was elected to the NBA All-Defensive First Team as a portrayal of 9 successful seasons and prevailed in the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award in 1996, the first point guard to win the award. He was picked to the NBA All-Star Team 9 times and was voted a starter in 1997 and 1998. He was an associate of the gold medal-winning 1996 and 2000 U.S. men's Olympic basketball teams. 5. Steve Nash. At the 1996 draft, Phoenix Suns buffs could never have coveted that the 6'3", 187-pound slender white Canadian would go on to be a 2-time MVP, which is why they booed Steve Nash when he was picked 15th overall. Nash would persist in being underrated his whole career. The Suns expected Nash would supersede legendary point guard Kevin Johnson, but rather signed Jason Kidd for the role. Nash was sold to Dallas, where he flourished playing alongside a young Dirk Nowitzki. In hindsight, Mark Cuban's judgment to let Nash go as a free agent in 2004 appears unexplainable. But at 30 years old, Cuban introspection Nash's best years were after him. He could not have been more false. Returning to the Suns under coach Mike D'Antoni, Nash staged the 7 seconds or less era in Phoenix, pivoting the Suns into one of the most stimulating squads. Nash won back-to-back regular season MVPs in 2005 and 2006 and guided his team to 3 Western Conference Finals. 6. Anthony Penny Hardaway. After picking Shaquille O'Neal first overall in 1992, the Magic defied the odds at the next year's lottery, winning the top pick for the second year. Everyone predicted that they would choose power forward Chris Webber. Webber had caught attention at Michigan as a leading member of the Fab Five. Selecting Webber first overall was a no-brainer to most fans, and Orlando spent the summer salivating at the prospect of a Shaq-Webber partnership. Webber was clearly hurt, but at least he could keep his pride in being the top pick. Shaq became unsettled in Orlando and left for the Lakers in acrimonious circumstances. The rest of Penny's career was blighted with injuries. In the recent ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries, The Magic Moment, Shaq confessed he regretted leaving the Magic and told Penny that he saw the years they played together as the best of his career. 7. Reggie Miller. Pacer fans were excited for the 1987 NBA draft where, with the 11th pick, many were excited at the prospect of University of Indiana star point guard Steve Alford. Rather, the Pacers preferred lanky 6'8" lanky shooting guard from the UCLA Bruins, Reggie Miller, and the booze followed. Alford was ultimately chosen by the Mavs, would last 4 years in the NBA. Miller would expend 18 years in the Hoosier State, evolving into arguably their greatest player ever. An excellent clutch shooter, Miller could get in a rhythm arriving off pick and rolls where he peaked like he couldn't miss. His 8 points in 9 seconds at the end of Game 1 in the 1995 Eastern Semi against the Knicks was the explanatory moment of his career, but there were similar junctures throughout his years in Indiana. Fiercely competitive, this statement from Miller sums up how he played the game. There is time to play and time to succeed. What you do in that winning time distinguishes a player from a star. For most of his career, Miller played in a very strong Eastern Conference during the 1990s and only made it to the NBA Finals once in 2000. You could never count the Pacers out gratitude largely to Miller. 8. Payestoyanovic. The 1996 draft is legendary. It featured many young players who would take the league by storm, such as Kobe Bryant, Stephen Marbury, Ray Allen, and Allen Iverson. Many will surely find their name one day in the Hall of Fame. Sacramento Kings fans thought they'd missed the party when their team selected 19-year-old Serbian Payestoyanovic, wanting Syracuse star John Wallace instead. The 6'9" sharpshooter, who made his name playing in Greece, would be a hugely popular player for the greatest show on court Kings alongside Chris Webber, Jason Williams, and fellow Serb Vlade Divac, establishing himself as one of the deadliest shooters in the league. That team would win the West with the best record in the league and be seconds away from the NBA championship in a scenic 7-game series against the Lakers. 9. Dan Miley. You people will be ashamed you ever booed this young guy, Cody Fitzsimmons told Phoenix fans after selecting Dan Miley as the 14th choice in the 1988 draft. With absolute support from his trainer, Dan Miley was set to prove the fans wrong. He quickly became dearest during his 8 years with the Suns. On a squad featuring notables Charles Barkley and Kevin Johnson, the Suns made it to the NBA Finals in 1993, where they failed the Chicago Bulls. In the glory of Miley's donation to the team's record and his hard-working style of play, the Suns made the Dan Miley Hustle Award, granted each season to the Suns player who displayed the most work rate and grind during the season. 10. Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki's voyage to the Dallas Mavericks was complicated and bemused by many buffs. Only the Celtics and Don Nelson of the Mavs seemed to have him on their radar. The 7-foot blonde German certainly looked a little out of position in the Lone Star State, and it would take time for Dirk to persuade Dallas fans that Nelson had been correct. Dirk bumbled in his sophomore years, often weak on defense, possibly showing that he had transitioned too quickly to the NBA from Germany. Nevertheless, Nelson was convinced he owned one of the purest shots in the game. Nowitzki worked hard on his game and became stronger and more settled in life in America, ultimately evolving into one of the predominant players in the league of the 2000s. He peaked in 2011, besting the regular season and finals MVP as he directed the Mavs to their only championship, defeating LeBron James' Miami Heat in a sensational 6-game series, betting his claim as one of the greatest forwards in NBA history. What do you guys think about these stars? Have they made their way legit? Or was that a matter of luck? Comment how you became successful in your field. Until then, adios.